In this problem, we are going to add, subtract, multiply, divide functions, but this time it's given to me in a graphical form. So first I need to know that what f plus g of 2 means. It's telling me to find what f of negative 2 and g of negative 2 and add them. Therefore, f minus g of negative 2 means find what f of negative 2 minus g of negative 2. F times g of negative 2 means find what f of negative 2 and find what g of negative 2 and multiply them. Okay, and then f over g of negative 2 means take those two, f of negative 2 divided by g of negative 2. So in all these cases, the first thing I need to know is I need to find what f of negative 2 is and g of negative 2 is. Okay, and I hope you remember this. The meaning here is when x is 2, what is the y value in the function f? When x is 2, what is the y value in the function g? Let me zoom here. So when x is negative 2. So I'm going to go up here. So this is the negative direction, negative 1, negative 2. And I see the red graph is my g of x and the blue graph is my f of x. So let me draw a line so I can show it. So that is where I'm hitting my g of negative 2. So when x is negative 2, my g of negative 2 would be 1, 2, 3, negative 3. So g of negative 2 is negative 3. The same way, if I keep bringing that thing line down, I see it will hit my blue graph at this point where when my x is negative 2, my f of negative 2 is going to be negative 7, negative 5, so negative 6, negative 7. Therefore, this is negative 7. So these are the only two values I needed to finish this problem. So if I go back to the problem, the first one would be f of negative 2, which is negative 7 plus negative 3, which would be negative 10. The second one is negative 7 minus negative 3, which will become a plus, right? Which is going to be negative 4. The third one, I'm going to take the negative 7 and multiply it to negative 3, positive 21. Fourth one, I'm going to take the negative 7 and divide it by negative 3. I'm going to end up with 7 over 3. I think it might, I don't know if you have to convert this into a mixed number when you input in the problem. You can just do accordingly as WebAssign needs it. The first answer is negative 10. The second answer is negative 4, 21, and 7 over 3. Okay. In the next problem, we are doing the same thing, but in this case, here it is asking for an additional thing, which is the domain of the sum function and the subtraction, multiplication, and division. So I did put a little box on the right where you can see how the domains are found for addition, subtraction, multiplication, the values that's common to both f of x and g of x. But when it comes to division, the only thing we have to make sure is if the denominator has any restricted value, make sure you exclude that value from the domain, in addition to values that's common between x, f of x and g of x. Okay, so let me start here, and here again, if there is a possibility for algebraic simplification, we should do it. So I will do the first one and show the domain in detail, how to find this domain using the algebraic skill of solving inequality. Okay, so first my f of x is given, g of x is given. So when it says f of x plus g of x, my answer is going to be square root of 25 minus x squared plus square root of x plus 1. Now this is it. I cannot do any further, because I cannot do any further simplification. One reason being there's a parentheses across this. So even if I write it as 5 minus x times 5 plus x, I'm still not able to pull anything outside the radical. And there is no rule that will let me put them under the same radical too. So I cannot do any further, and therefore that is the answer. 25 minus x squared plus square root of x plus 1. In this section, you may have to brush up some of your algebraic skills and need to know which ones can be applied. If when you can put things under the same radical sign, when you cannot. There is a product rule, quotient rule. There is no sum rule. Therefore, I cannot put them under the same radical sign. Okay. So the second part of the question is asking for the domain. So for the domain, let me first break it individually. I'm looking at the function. It's a square root function. So 25 minus x squared must be greater than or equal to 0, right, for the first one. So let me simplify this. Negative x squared is greater than or equal to negative 25. So which means x squared is less than or equal to 25. The meaning of this is x is less than or equal to 4, right? So the meaning is negative 4 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4. That's what it means. Again, these are skills. I hope it's better if you go into some of the prerequisites and look through how to solve inequalities, and then you will know why I'm writing all this. Okay, so the meaning here is, if I think of my number line, another color for my number line. So if I think of my number line, for the first piece, I'm saying it can be anything from negative 4 all the way up to 4. And that's what that meaning is. Any values in between these two can be taken. Okay. Now, but I have a second function in here, x plus 1. So for this second function, my x plus 1 should be greater than or equal to 0, which is x is greater than or equal to 1. So if I have to graph this, let me use another color. So if I have to graph this and in the same axis, so this is negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1 will be here, right? Now everything to the right, but I cannot cross the 4. So this is the region that's common for both. This is my negative 1 to 4. Therefore, the answer for the first part of the question, the domain of this sum function is starting from negative 1 all the way to 4, including negative 1 and 4. Okay. Okay, let me go to the second part of the problem. Again, it's f minus g. Oh, the domain has to be written here, I think. So I would say bracket negative 1 comma 4 bracket. Okay. Second one is f minus g. So I'm subtracting it. Here again, it is f of x, which is square root of 25 minus x squared, minus square root of x plus 1. I cannot do any simplification, so that's my final answer. Squared minus square root of x plus 1. The domain is going to be the same because it's the same thing, right? 25 minus x squared should be greater than or equal to 0, and x plus 1 should be greater than or equal to 0. In both cases, I'm going to get the same one, so the domain for the second part is also going to be the same. So the domain is the same. Okay. For the third one, I need to multiply these two functions. So here, when I multiply f of x times g of x, I have a square root of 25 minus x squared times square root of x plus 1. Now, I have something called a product rule. So the product rule states that if I have radicals, and if the index numbers are the same, if this is the same as this, And if it's multiplied, then I can write them under the same radical sign with the same index number. So I can apply that here. 25 minus x squared times x plus 1. I can FOIL it if I want, but I'm not going to reach anywhere, so I would rather leave it like this, okay? So I would write 25 minus x squared times x plus 1. Now also remember, I can write x plus 1 times 25 minus x squared because multiplication is commutative and it doesn't matter which one I write first, but sometimes web-based assignments may need the x plus 1 factor first and this 25 minus x squared next, so just check accordingly. Now domain is going to be the same. Again, the rules apply individually. 25 minus x squared should be greater than or equal to 0 and x plus 1 should be greater than or equal to 0. So in that case also the domain is going to be negative 1 comma 4. Okay, the last one is division. So taking the two functions, square root of 25 minus x squared over square root of x plus 1. Same as the before one, there is something called a quotient rule, which will let me, these are all the prerequisite skills. That lets me, if I have things divided and if the index numbers are the same, then I can put them under the same radical sign. So if I apply that, this could be written as square root of 25 minus x squared over x plus 1. Only if I can factor the numerator, denominator, and there are common factors, I can eliminate anything. If not, this is my answer. And I cannot do anything here, so I would rather leave it like this. Okay. Now here, the domain is going to be a little different because of this denominator x plus 1. Now, according to this, the problems, the first few three sections of this problem, we said the domain is going to be, draw the number line, all the values up to 4 and starting from negative 1. But now the challenge is, if I put negative 1 in the denominator, it becomes 25 minus x squared over 0. 0 in the denominator is making the function undefined. So I cannot include the negative 1. So what I would have to do is exclude just the negative 1 from in here. So the best way to do that is when the line, just don't include negative 1, just put an open circle. So the domain is going to be the same numbers. This is going to be a bracket, but here there's going to be a parenthesis. So it's parentheses negative 1 comma 4 bracket.